You can fish on right now. Fish on right now. Yeah, no, reel it in and set the hook. There you go. Keep it off the dock. It's good. Oh my goodness, that's a big fish. No, there's no chance. There's no chance. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Maybe get. Oh no.
You could literally hear the moment.
That was
his
a
heart
big
breaks in half.
Fish. I've only got 10-pound test on here. Okay, Ethan, take this for a second. Hold on.
Can I stop
Just gonna
recording?
make sure we're live everywhere, as we all enjoy a moment of sadness followed by much happiness.
It's a tiny circle hook. That it won't do any damage, but it was a like a I don't know a half. That was a big flipping fish, however.
That was a big flipping fish. It was a snakehead, by the way. Now let me just make sure. I think we're live.
There was no chance that you couldn't haul that thing over the.
No, because he was down at the end and he saw you guys were catching, I think, a lot. He made his way down and I think he was waiting.
Little bastard.
There's a metaphor in there. The alligator is the government.
You could have done nothing except what you did.
And it takes your hard-earned work and breaks your heart.
That was.
Look at the fat part of its neck right now, by the way.
What's the problem?
Do you have a picture of the fish?
I think I got the better part of the video, I think, but that was huge.
It was wild.
But the fish
Look at this. Oh, you can see the fish going down its neck.
Like, I'm done.
Bubbles out of my teeth. That's a burp.
And wait for my next one.
That was a gator burp.
That's a personal best. We will estimate the size of that fish based on the video recording. Oh, he's upset he lost his fish.
Oh, yep. That's a first. One of the gators came close the other day. This little bastard got it because we hooked a giant snakehead. Snakehead, for those of you who don't know, they're like long eel-like looking fish. They got like wide mouths. They kind of look like basses that started getting sucked into a black hole and then managed to escape. Can we see it again? Well, I thought you'd never ask. Hold on just 1 second. Someone in the chat asked if we can see this again. How can I say no? Well, I could say no if I can't find the flipping video again. This was at a place called Loxahatchee, and there's gators there all the time. And they sit there like a bunch of poachers, just waiting for someone to get something big. If you have heavy enough line, you could just rip the fish in, haul it in. We did not have heavy enough line. Look at this. Hold on. And you can see the fish thrashing. Like it's a little circle hook. Gets in there, hooked it in.
You can fish on right now. Fish on right now. Yeah,
Okay.
no, reel it in and set the hook.
Look at tug in. Boom. Look at that rod.
Keep it off the dock. It's good.
Look at the splash.
Oh my goodness, that's a big fish.
You hear the crowd like, ooh.
No, there's no
and incoming.
There's no chance.
Bastard.
There's no chance. Oh my goodness.
Oh, and then you hear everybody everyone in the crowd. Oh, the moment the child's heart breaks. The kid's very happy because that's a once in a lifetime memory. Link to tweet here. People, oh my goodness, it's another Sunday night. I will be as honest with the entire world as I have been with our locals community. I know I was texting this with somebody this morning. I have been feeling increasingly despaired, and I'll try to smile about it. We're living through insanity. It doesn't feel like it's getting better, and it sometimes does feel like it's getting better, but then it goes and gets one step worse. And I understand Twitter is not the real world by any means. The forces at play in the social media Twitterverse, the battle for information, the battle for minds, and the battle to promote disinformation, and the battle to cause despair, and to cause, what is it called? Demoralization, is stronger than ever. And I like, how bad does it have to get before people say it's bad enough now and I'm waking up? We're going to talk about the Trump stuff. We're going to talk about everything that's going on in America. Twitter is upside down, but look, okay, I'll start with this. I was going to start with The Rock, because we're seeing what happens when people start to think for themselves. You had a little too much to think. And let me make sure I get the right video. And The Rock came out, and is he going to learn? Is he going to learn, or is he going to pull a little? I'm trying to think of who else goes back and tries to placate the mob. Not J.K. Rowling. That wouldn't be fair. Oh, The Rock, went on Fox News. That's already what an apostate does. He went on Fox News and he said this. I think this is 3 days ago. The ripples and the tsunami is still washing over the interwebs.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this. This is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
You made that endorsement
And
in 2020.
with that rather attenuated, rather innocuous statement, The Rock just, I don't want to use any hyperbolic comparisons or rhetoric. The Rock might have had too much to think. And The Rock might now be realizing that the tolerant, loving left are about as tolerant and loving, peace-loving left as Democrat is the People's Democracy of China. I can't think of a good example. I got to get a good example. The Chinese Communist Party, the People's Republic of China, or something like that. The tolerant left has frothingly unleashed on The Rock for that statement. The statement was pretty innocuous. He said, look, at that point in time, it was the right endorsement for me. Some people might disagree with the fact that because you have influence doesn't mean you have to say things. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, having a platform to influence people is a sort of a double-edged sword if you don't have the information, the baseline knowledge to properly influence people. And so just because you have a platform doesn't mean you have to use it. Just because you have a crowbar in the garage doesn't mean you have to smash a window with it. But other than that, a pretty innocuous statement, one would think. They have unleashed on him. They have what's this one? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is about to go through some things. This isn't going to work out the way he thinks it will. What the hell does that mean? I'm not picking on like random people. 47,000 followers. It might not even be a real person. Just a bot on. It might just be a bot on Twitter. I might be getting frustrated at bots on Twitter. I know there's a ton of them on my own feed. Just like robo responses, anti-Trump, MAGA, whatever the heck. You're all, it might just be a robot responding. But the engagement, and I can't do that. You go look at it. Dwayne "The Rock" says he wanted. Sorry, that's not right. He's going to go through some things. What the hell does that mean? This isn't going to work out the way he thinks. Oh, I know that's a nifty little double entendre. Oh, no, that's not a threat. I'm just saying, if Trump gets elected, it's not good. No, this is somebody is thinking for themselves. An ethnic minority is thinking for themselves. And I don't want to say they're all exclusively Caucasian white women. But there's a certain trend. I mean, it probably is reflecting the demographics of the states at large. There's a certain trend going on here. Let me see what this one's doing here. He doesn't care about black folks. How ironic. Am I dealing with a real person? Who the hell knows? Just bots coming out now. Now, the bot machine is against The Rock, or real people are coming out and saying, you were an ally, The Rock. How dare you come out and say, is America in a better place now than it was 4 years ago? Oh, I don't know. War in the Middle East, war in Russia, record numbers of young Americans dying from fentanyl overdose, and an open border. Oh, I don't like the word open border because there's actually a checkpoint. Piss off. An open border south of the border that's let in how many? 10 million people in the last 4 years? Oh yeah, but they caught a few people on the terror watch list. That's a great indication. Oh, America is not better now than it was 4 years ago. Am I sharing Dwayne's optimism? I hope so. I wouldn't have placed the bets that I'm placing with my feet and feet and livelihood. So yeah, we can remain optimistic. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. But is America better now than it was 4 years ago? The only people saying it is are the Keith Olbermanns of the world, are the blue checkmark Hollywood types of the world, are the TDS inflicted nincompoops of the world who would do anything but admit that things are worse now than they were before. We're on the brink of World War III, on the brink of bankruptcy. I don't know how many trillions of dollars in debt. I don't know, but and then the guy comes out and says the obvious, and the frothing, unhinged lunatics of the left turn on the rock the way that alligator turned on that fish, although they were never aligned. Oh, people. So that's that. That was the intro. I got another thing that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about Tommy Robinson because it's all sort of looping together. Yeah. Look at what's going on in Europe when you have rampant, unregulated immigration. Forget open borders invasion, where you don't even know who the hell's coming in. I had Tommy Robinson. Tommy, oi, oi, oi. And for all you jackasses who think it's a gotcha that it's not his real name, shut the hell up. You guys are morons. Like, you are low-level trolls, low information level trolls, thinking that your stupid talking points that are about a decade old work on anybody except people who are as dumb as yourself. I had Tommy Robinson on Friday. We had a 2-hour mind-blowing interview. And I thought Tommy's shit had hit the fan back in the day when he was jailed for contempt, sentenced to 13 months in jail after a 2-hour hearing, after being arrested the day of for doing journalism on the street and recording some criminal defendants going in for the grooming gang. And I thought that's as bad as it got for him. And boy, have I missed the last 2 years of Tommy's life. So Tommy told me to go watch there's a leaked documentary. It's on Rumble. I shared the link with everybody before we got started here. I'll share it again because Tommy's like, you go watch this documentary, Silenced. There's the link, everybody. It'll blow your mind, Viva. It's like, you thought it was bad with the grooming gangs and getting sentenced to 13 months in jail after a 2-hour hearing for contempt. Yeah, I'd say when that happened, people understand that's the UK. That's not North Korea. That's not NK. That's UK. Tommy Robinson picked up off the street, live streaming. I don't care who he was live streaming, and I don't care what court order he allegedly violated, because he didn't violate any. Swept up off the street, brought before a magistrate, within 2 hours, sentenced to 13 months in jail, and he went straight to jail and took 6 weeks for him to get his first meeting with his counsel. UK, not NK. Tommy said, you think that's bad? Go watch Silenced. Silenced is a documentary that he made to deal with the latest scandal that has been impacting him, which is back in the day, in the UK, this is relatively recently, they had an incident that is akin, it's analogous to the Nicholas Salmon Covington Catholic kids scandal, disinformation silo that we had 8 years ago now. If you don't know about this, there was a story coming out of the UK of a Syrian refugee boy who was allegedly, bullied by a couple of white boys who pinned him down and poured a bottle of water over his face. And the 10-second video went viral exactly the same way the Covington Catholic Nicholas Salmon 10-second clip went viral, or I think it was actually just a photograph, except there were no breaks on the scandal out of the UK. There was no right-wing media. There were no independent journalists righting that wrong, correcting the story, calling it out on social media. In the UK, this kid, I don't remember his name, it doesn't really make a difference, a Syrian refugee, 10-second video clip of two white kids pouring water on his face. The video clip goes viral. It's called Two Racist Boys Waterboarding a Syrian Refugee. The media runs with it. Piers Morgan of the world runs with it. Piers Morgan calls the 12-year-old white kid vermin who needs to be, face repercussions for this. The journalists, the politicians, the entire machine runs with this. And Tommy Robinson comes out and says, I'm getting information that this is not the whole story. And he goes and gets a little more information and then says, oh yeah, this kid who's claiming to be the victim of being waterboarded, and the media is running this off as a racist, anti-immigrant, far-right attack. Turns out the kid is allegedly a little bit of a problem child. Allegedly a little bit of a misogynist, allegedly assaulted one of his classmates by hitting her over the back with a hockey stick, allegedly was threatening to sexually assault a number of students, and allegedly the younger sister of the boy who was pouring water on his face, where if you listen to that clip, you can hear him say, you don't have much to say now. What do you have to say now? And so Tommy Robinson comes out and says, this is the true story, not what the media is telling you. And then Tommy Robinson gets sued for defamation. And then he is preparing his court case and puts together this documentary called Silence, because the people who initially gave him the information as to what actually happened, what this kid was actually like, that this was all an orchestrated ploy to manufacture a race baiting controversy, none of them want to talk to him all of a sudden when it comes time to go to court. And so he makes this documentary where he puts in an undercover camera. And I try to steel man how this documentary is propaganda. I try to see like how is he crafting the story now? How is he manipulating whatever? Just because I'll scrutinize it that way as well. I can't really find a good way that he's manipulating or being dishonest in the documentary. He puts together this documentary and then attempts to, from what I understand, present it to the court and gets an injunction enjoining him from publishing the documentary. The documentary, which has undercover footage of school staff saying this kid was a bad seed. Other people saying they got paid to be quiet. The girls who said that they were assaulted by this kid, harassed by him, they had to take down their social media posts because they were getting threatened. They had to go into hiding. And so I watched this documentary, and you realize that this is what happens when the system goes batshit crazy, when there are no checks and balances on the dishonesty. I don't know if Piers Morgan has ever apologized for that. This is the link. And so I don't know how the documentary got leaked. It is currently on Rumble, and it's wild. Silence. The documentary Silence has been silenced. Link to doc on Rumble. And, Nicholas Sandmann, but for the countervailing forces or the pushback, this is what it would have been. A story where people went crazy, where people were wrong, where people said stupid things because of identity politics, who would not have been forced to correct themselves if the entire apparatus was set up to protect them. In the UK, can you imagine these politicians? I think Theresa May was one of them, but I don't want to make mistakes on names. Politicians got up on the international scale, the international scene, and said this is intolerable, anti-immigrant, xenophobic, anti-Islamic behavior. It has no place in Western society. The white kid is the demon in all of this. And there were no checks and balances to rein in the actual apparent, allegedly true story, which was this kid, by the school's account, by the parents' account, by other classmates' account, by his own school records account, was the aggressor and not the victim. But by the time the politicians have put their foot in their mouths, they would sooner eat their entire leg than take it out and say they made a mistake. And they brought the entire force of judicial, legal process against Tommy Robinson, silenced him literally, and now he's preparing to go back to court on this come a little after the summer to see what his fate's going to be. They bankrupted him over this with a ruling because he was unable, basically, pressure enough people not to testify. It'll be impossible to defend yourself when you are the enemy and the machine has turned on you. And in a meaningful way, like we're seeing with Trump, there's very little you can do to protect yourself. There's very little you can do to actually defeat that machine. Which is why freedom is not about waking the sheep. It's about mobilizing the lions. I keep screwing that expression up. Who knows? All right. With that said, by the way, and that's it. So I might do a short review of that movie, but that might have been the review of the movie. Go check it out. I've got to watch the other one where he takes down the BBC. Before I get into the sponsor of the evening, let me just say hi to Little Rock. Viva, I sent an email to Robert. It could be a potential sponsor, and I'm interested in buying it. However, I want you guys to look. Little Rock, I'll go have a look on Rumble Locals after this. The kid going to have a Happy Gilmore moment and find out that Gator stuffed in. No, he will not, Ian. Cheryl Gagey, I'm waiting. I'm getting worried about the New York Madness. Could they really jail Trump? They'll try. They'll try to take his assets first. We're going to talk about what the latest is on the bond. Eclipse Day tomorrow is WEF and DOA. WEF and DOA Awareness Day. WEFDOA.com. Okay, I'll have to check that. And we got Arrow Guy, $10 in the house. Thank you very much. People, you may have noticed before you came in here that it said this stream contains a paid promotion. And it does, because we've got a sponsor of the evening, and that sponsor is TWC. It's kind of amazing that not everybody's talking about this, because I sort of not raised the alarm myself, but I had the aha moment when the pandemic hit and we got kids who had certain medications. Like, holy crap, what happens if I can't get these medications? Now, this is not for everything, but it's for certain things. The fact that on Thursday, March 21st, the court ruled that the FDA must delete every social media post addressing the use of ivermectin for treatment or prevention of COVID-19. It's been determined that the FDA lied. I'm needling the FDA because that tweet was still up there last I checked. They lied in their demonizing of ivermectin. and other effective drugs for the last 4 years, vindicating doctors like Peter McCullough, who pioneered the McCullough Protocol and stood strong despite every cancellation campaign. Speaking of cancellation. But the question so many people are still asking, how do I get ivermectin HCQ, since most doctors are still not even prescribing it? This is not medical advice either, by the way. Well, one thing is for certain. The FDA lost because they lied, coming out and saying, you're not a horse, you're not a cow. Stop it, y'all. Who's the idiot now? FDA. And the amount of the damage they've done, whatever. How do you get this stuff? Keep listening. Americans are waking up and understanding that now more than ever, we need to have life-saving medications on hand. They aren't just remedies. They are lifelines for the next time, because there will be a next time. And the wellness company's contagion emergency kit, complete with the McCullough Protocol, has you covered. The one-of-a-kind, this prescription kit provides you with carefully assorted, effective medications, because stuff happens, antibiotics, all this other stuff, COVID-19 and other respiratory illnesses, ivermectin, HCQ, Z-Pak, budesonide, along with the nebulizer and a guidebook for safe use. Backed by research and endorsed by world-renowned experts, the wellness company's contagion emergency kit is a must-have. You know what the amazing thing is? The media is going to try to demonize this contagion emergency kit, not understanding that, this is basically just I won't say on steroids, although it's quite enough. This is just a souped-up emergency kit. What do they call those things? Are they called emergency kits? I've used one in a long time. The thing that had Band-Aids, polysporin, those stupid stretchy things, as if that has ever done anything. Anyhow, this is a souped up emergency kit. Avoid the chaos, wait times, and the price of a hospital, and have exactly what you need for as low as the cost of a singles doctor visit. www.twc, for those listening, I have a bit of a list. TWC is Tango Whiskey Charlie.health/Viva. Grab your contagion emergency kit right now. That is, once again, TWC, Tango Whiskey Charlie.health/Viva. The Viva code saves you $30 at checkout. Kits are only available in the US of A. These United States of America. People, we got a show tonight. As always, Barnes is in the backdrop. For those of you who are new to the channel, I am Viva Fry. David Freiheit. For anybody who thinks using my name is somehow like you're revealing my identity to the world. I ran for office in Canada, people. My name, just as a little piece of info, David Freiheit, you rearrange all those letters, it spells did it have fire, or it did have fire. Kind of amazing. All the letters are in there. We start on YouTube, Rumble, and vivabarneslaw.locals.com, where we are currently live. I'm looking at my ugly face right there. Bada bing, bada boom. And we end on YouTube. Go over to the free speech platform Rumble for the rest of the stream. We then end on Rumble, and we go over to our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community for an after party. Here's the link, and that's how it works. If you don't know who Robert Barnes is because this is your first episode, is there anybody watching right now who this is their first time watching Viva Fry, Viva Barnes? I need to know. And be honest. Nobody's going to be honest. Forget that. It's a ridiculous question. Okay, Barnes is looking dapper. Bringing him in. Here comes the Barnes peeps. Robert, sir, how goes the battle?
Good. We had a big 5% play up at Sports Picks on the Final Four on Saturday, and it, like last year's 5% pick on the national championship game, like the first round pick this year, like the second round pick this year, it was cha-ching! And we got another 5% play on Monday night's national championship game up at sportspicks.locals.com. One of the few subscription that pays for itself almost within the same week. So having some fun with all the folks over there. And some of them are going to be coming out for the big bash this Saturday. Viva and Barnes' 50th birthday bash live in Las Vegas. So everybody that's got the tickets, get ready. The event will start at 5 p.m., go to about 10-ish. So somewhere in that neighborhood. Have dinner, have entertainment. Maybe Viva, we'll even sing a Viva Barnes Law version of Viva Las Vegas. We'll see. Get those piano chops going. I saw the little fella got his fish stolen from him by an alligator or crocodile. That was something to witness.
It was amazing. It was amazing. An alligator, not yet the crocs. Those I think I would be a little more scared of. Robert, what does a 5% play mean?
We recommend you do certain percentages of your bankroll. You take a certain amount of money, put it aside, and that's your investment fund but it's money you can afford to lose. So it's not money that you can't afford to lose. and then you bet a certain percentage of that on each individual recommended bet. So usually that's 2%, sometimes it's 1%. But when I have a lot of confidence in an outcome, when I think that we'll win it about 2/3 of the time, rather than 52, you have to break even, you need about 52, 53% of the time. But when I feel 65% confident, then I put out a 5% play. And we've been hitting those at higher than 70% since we've been putting them out. So we'll see if we get to ching. Though Sports Pick subscribers, if they want to, are guaranteed a profit in the championship game because we gave out UConn to win it all before the tournament at more than 2-1. And now you could bet Purdue at more than 2-1. And no matter who won, you'd make money. That's the beauty of it.
Now, one last thing, actually, you remind me. So Kamala Harris made the news because she's infinitely stupid, talking about brackets.
I always said, Kamala Harris, dumbest lawyer I ever dealt with in court. I've been saying that since before she was a senator, when she was attorney general, before she was vice president. Yes, indeed, women's college brackets weren't just created 2 years ago. In fact, the women's national championship was just played today. I didn't see who won it. It looked like South Carolina won it. South Carolina wants women's coach wants men to be able to compete in women's sports.
Oh, Robert,
which, you know what? If you saw some of the South Carolina players, just saying.
Robert, here, listen to this. I zoomed in on her face because it's we got to see how.
Do you know? Okay, a bit of a history lesson. Do you know that the women's teams were not allowed to have brackets until 2022? Think about that. And talk about progress,
Talk about
the never, but progress. And what that has done, because of course, when
I can't the whole thing, Robert. First of all, what are brackets? Like, I'm not even sure I understand. I know that what she said is factually wrong. I just don't know what brackets are.
You have a tournament, and it's a round of 64, or 68 teams technically now. And the brackets are, you have the 1 seed versus 16 seed. It's how a team can meet up in the end. And so a lot of people like to fill those out. Somebody's going to win a free lifetime subscription to Sports Picks, depending on what happens in the national title, because hundreds of people filled out our brackets at Sports Picks. And that's what that is. But the brackets have, as long as there's been a tournament, there have been brackets. So it was an utterly inane statement, but it's typical. I mean, she's not really an American. Father's Jamaican, mother's Indian. She grew up in Comida.
She grew up up.
Drew like the Comida reference.
She grew up the street from me. Like, she went to Westbound High School, which was up where I used to walk my dog. I mean, I grew up in Westbound. No, it's just like, first of all, like, her whole demeanor is painfully stupid. Ty Fisher had a great joke. Oh, hold on, Robert. Okay, one more thing, Robert. One more thing. This is Ty the Fish Fisher, a fantastic stand-up comic, and this was the original joke. I can't say these things because I'm not a stand-up comic, but
Joe Biden's not doing good. Not doing great, man. If he wins, Kamala Harris will be the president. Don't worry, I don't do an impression of Kamala Harris. Obviously, it's not okay for a white guy to do an impression of a retarded hyena. So,
I mean, it's fantastic. I didn't say it, but that's the type of humor that I like. Okay, so now I understand the stupidity. Robert, what's the book you have behind you?
A new book out by an old buddy of mine from Yale, Jeremy Carl. We'll probably have him on at Sidebar at some point. I used to get into big arguments with him about populism versus elitism and so on and so forth. But he's now more on the populist side of the equation than he used to be. But he's written a new book called The Unprotected Class, about basically the effort to politically depopulate a large group of the population simply because their pigmentation is of a lighter variety. And so he sent it to me, which was a nice. It's kind of a no whites allowed policy, kind of like Wisconsin State Bar just got caught doing. We'll be discussing that in other cases. So I haven't read the book yet. He just sent it to me in the mail, so I'll take a look at it. But yeah, very, very smart guy, very sharp guy. Was one of the more true Trumpers that got into the administration late, and would have been more influence in a second administration had he kind of like what that alligator did to your son's fish. If Joe Biden hadn't stolen that election, then Jeremy Carl probably would be in the White House as we speak.
All right. What do we give us the menu topics or the topic menus? Give us what's on the menu tonight, and then we'll see which one we start with.
All right, we got a lot of Trump news. Trump's ready to be Nelson Mandela. It says, "Hey, judge, put me in jail. I'm not going to obey your unconstitutional gag order." And Good Logic has been studying the ability to go into court and challenge that gag order as an independent member of the New York commentator community that should have access to Trump's speech. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss dismissal motions being denied at this stage. What does that mean in the different cases? We've got the attempts to take the bond on appeal down or challenge the people that are doing the bond themselves. That's how the weaponized lawfare continues. We got judicial scandals in both New York and an attempt by Jack Smith and his allies, his lackeys in the media, legal press, to go after Judge Cannon for not bowing and cowering to every demand he makes. And we got a sign that Trump had some really terrible lawyers in his first term. One of Trump's own top lawyers is out there, Ty Cobb, who's always been a hack. He's a guy who should be disbarred, unlike John Eastman, unlike Jeffrey Clark. This is a lawyer who represented the president and then shared attorney-client privilege information with a journalist, Bob Woodward. And he's out there telling everybody as a legal expert. Guy's a total fraud. Legal expert, that judge is going to be recused and disqualified down there in Florida for not cowering to Jack Smith. What a fraud this guy is. And so many people have told me, oh, what a great defense lawyer is. He hasn't won a case worth anything. Guy's a phony. But we'll be discussing that. State bars getting caught discriminating. If you're white, you're not supposed to apply in Wisconsin. Got caught by America First Legal for certain internship programs. The disbarment proceedings, the sham disbarment proceedings against Professor Eastman and Jeffrey Clark continue in D.C. and California. The abortion pill before SCOTUS, why the right's obsession with getting rid of expanding the standing doctrine to get rid of suits is going to hurt themselves in the end and cover up for the state. If you got a mugshot with having to take off your hijab, you're entitled to $17 million plus worth of damages. They recognize that as a religious right, but not if you don't want to force your kid to be vaccinated in New York. Election law reform, Zuck Bucks fails in Wisconsin. What the implications of that may be as the lawsuits begin to proliferate against election law reforms by a certain money launderer that works for the Democratic Party. The juvenile court, social workers that like to steal people's kids have been getting away with it, claim they had both judicial and prosecutorial immunity. Thankfully, the Ninth Circuit finally did the right thing and made clear they don't. Then we got a few bonus cases, the double level of discrimination that's taking place in religious cases. We have the Amos Miller update on a brief that I filed and submitted, and you can get it at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Posted it there. Freely available for everyone. Representative Goldman, the CIA's favorite congressman, getting sued by the Biden whistleblower. The Douglas Mackey case pending before the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. And January 6th, defendants talking about bringing a class action against the corruption of the Capitol Police.
I should mention this to everybody, actually, now that I forgot to. Hold on one second. Let me save this. Tomorrow night, 6:00, Jake Lang is coming on. He's the is he the lead plaintiff on the class action?
As far as I know.
That's so Jake Lang, he's gonna come on at 6:00 tomorrow night. So everybody stay tuned. Link is gonna come up after this. Robert, do we do like the Trump stuff that we should probably keep in a block and do that on Rumble? Can we start with it'll be a little bit out of order. Douglas Mackey?
Oh, sure.
I think this is Douglas Mackey, for those of you who don't know, Ricky Vaughn, literally arrested, convicted, and is he currently in jail now?
No, remember the Second Circuit granted him bail pending appeal.
Okay, good. So he's not in jail at least. This was the guy convicted for the meme. The meme was text your vote from home and save some time in line. Vote your text to Hillary at whatever, blah, blah, blah. He did exactly what another comedian did. Her tweet is still up there last I checked, where she said, election day is the day after actual election day. She became a MAGA and everyone should go vote on November 10th, I think it was. Her tweet's still up, no prosecution, whatever. Douglas Mackey, a young dude with a Twitter feed that everybody knew was a troll account, put out this meme. He got charged in Southern District of New York.
That's correct. No, the Eastern District of New York.
Any better?
No. not as corrupt as the prosecutor's department, but they chose that because the jury pool they believed would be more hostile to Mackey.
So they arrested him, charged him, and he got convicted of what was it? Not election interference, but it was disenfranchising people of their right to vote.
The Klan conspiracy statute. That's what it historically has been called. All the commies in our legal profession don't want to use that reference because then it makes it clear how asinine and absurd it is to be applying these laws. Like they're trying to apply to some January 6th defendants, like they're trying to apply to Trump in civil suits and Trump allies, and like they did to Mackey here. That this is the statute that was put on the books to stop the Klan from ballot stuffing, beating people up, burning crosses in their front lawn, burning their houses down, lynching. That was the voter interference they were worried about, not memes. But, like the commies at Yale Law School and elsewhere filed amicus briefs defending this. The terrifying thing about Mackey's case, and we often called it the meme case because not a lot of people knew Mackey's name, and then people thought we hadn't been talking about the case. We've been talking about this from the time it was brought many, we probably have about a half dozen shows on it, at least. But is that they're trying to criminalize political disagreement about elections. That's what they're trying to do. And they're just assuming they'll always have the power. They're assuming nobody opposed to the left will ever have the power. So that consequently, they don't have to worry about these laws being used against them. And even though they've done actual election interference, they've actually interfered with elections. They've actually stolen elections many times in many places.
What's her face? The woman out of Jenna Griswold. I mean, removing someone from the ballot is the very type of suing someone into, attempting to sue them into bankruptcy.
Issuing gag orders like the judges have been issuing. That's a crime. That's election interference. That's criminal conduct that was intended to be covered by this criminal statute. Not political disagreement, not internet memes, not jokes. It's asinine. They chose one of the most ludicrous cases they could bring to prove to everybody how far the law could go. We can put you in prison for a meme we don't like. And the fact that Yale Law School's, one of its key groups, has filed an amicus in support of this suit, pretending that it somehow doesn't violate the First Amendment, just shows you how far gone the legal academy is. There'll be a common theme here. We need to get rid of licensure. We need to get rid of state bars. That we need to get rid of the professional classes' power. The lawyers are in Shakespeare, the reference is meant to say that they'll get rid of the good advocates by saying first we get rid of all the lawyers. But now we need to get rid of all the lawyers, at least the degree requirement.
But Robert,
as a condition of power. These people are dangerous.
But it's never going to happen. They're never going to remove licensure for things of the professional class.
Not unless we take mass action. No, not unless there a broad movement builds. That's the only way it's going to happen. It's the only way it's going to radically change is radical action, taken in the court of public opinion to be able to change these things, to continue to expose the danger of these things. As long as they kept this quiet and limited this to a small number of people, they could get away with the atrophying corruption of our judicial system and legal process. But they're so overt, so over the top, so brazen, so bold, trying to do it to Trump, that they've lost the script, and they're building a blowback that is growing at exponential rates. If you would have said pre-COVID, you would have half the country skeptical of vaccines. People would have laughed you out of the room. They would have told you that's never going to happen. For the vaccines had become indoctrinated into the American belief system. Even conservatives would mouth pro-vaccine rhetoric. I'm not part of that Alex Jones kind of thing. No. Today, 95% of Americans refuse to take the COVID vaccine for their kids. Something has radically shifted. So what's happening is we're seeing the problem of a weaponized legal system. And the problem isn't weaponization. The problem is the legal system having too much power in the first place. Too much power to lawyers, too much power to judges, too much power to a professional managerial class. Because this case is an embarrassment to the rule of law, an embarrassment to constitutional democracy.
I listened to the it was a court of appeal.
It's oral argument at the Second Circuit.
How many judges were there? Was there
Three,
one
a
or
panel of
there were
three.
three? One of them was extremely hostile, like where they're asking questions as to it was a foregone conclusion. Like, how is this not election interference? He put out a tweet with the intention of disenfranchising people of their right to vote. And it's not to be critical. I mean, it didn't seem like the lawyer was getting anywhere with any form of argumentation. Were all three judges pretty much equally hostile in this hearing?
We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of bad judges at the Second Circuit, but this case has a high likelihood of getting up to the Supreme Court. If the government loses, they won't take it up to the Supreme Court because they know they'll lose there. But if Mackey loses, he will. And there's very good grounds to the Supreme Court. And even people that are pro this application of this law have recognized there's problems with how far this goes. And they supposedly they're going to limit it to just, okay, if you have false speech about the mechanisms of an election with the intent to prevent someone from voting, then it's criminal. The problem is, as we see here, if they can put somebody in prison for a meme, there's too much power in the hands of prosecutors and judges to decide what is false speech concerning the mechanisms of an election with the intent to impact their vote. I mean, everything happens in an election intends to impact somebody voting. Everything does. So, you could say the Willie Horton ad or any ad is meant to suppress the vote by discouraging, dissuading people to vote. And then it concerns the mechanics of an election. That's the other two issues that are being challenged. This was clear venue abuse, and it was also clear vagueness problem. If there's no way he could be on notice that this was a crime. I mean, that's patently absurd. So that's on top of the First Amendment problem. But that's where you have to go into these proceedings, oral arguments, ready to be confrontational, because you get up there and you get a rogue judge, and you got to expose it for what it is. Say, these are you political hacks making an asinine and absurd interpretation of law so that you can interfere in an election, judge. Because maybe next year there's somebody different to the attorney general and they decide your statement right now, judge, was election interference and they put you in prison. You like that idea, judge? Then you better think twice about this asinine, absurd application of the law. They have bastardized it beyond all recognition. And it's going to be a common theme tonight. It's judicial abuse, judicial abuse, judicial abuse, judicial abuse, lawyer abuse, lawyer abuse, lawyer abuse, lawyer abuse. And the only lawyers that conscientiously stood up for the rule of law, they're trying to disbar because we allow a state bar to give them a monopoly on licensure in the first place. Andrew Jackson said it was a bad idea. He was right. We should return back to those roots. And anything less than institutional change, what Trump doesn't get is this isn't just about him. This is about the dangers of this system given this degree of power, period. You have to take it away from them. You don't solve the problem of show trials by just prohibiting show trials against you. You do it by taking away the power of show trials to exist ever.
Let me bring this up. I've been looking for the tweet because I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention for a second. I thought it was not there anymore. Listen to this. This is fine. This is still up. No prosecution, no jail time, no nothing. It's still up.
Hey, everybody. This is Christina Wong, and I'm coming out. I'm a Trump supporter, and I just want to remind all my fellow Chinese Americans for Trump, people of color for Trump, to vote. Vote for Trump. One day, we're going to show this country who's boss, and that's our man, Donald Trump. So don't forget to vote Donald Trump on November 9th.
That's because the election was on November 8th, Robert, right? I forget. There was a little glitch in there. No, that's still up there, and it was almost like a back and forth joke among trolls on the Twitterverse. But no prosecution for you, Kristen Wong, but jail time for you, Douglas Mackey.
And there's no connection between he and the Eastern District of New York. It is ridiculous venue abuse that unless, what they're forcing people to do is people on the right need to indict Barack Obama in a small conservative county in Alabama and Texas. Then all of a sudden the courts will be like, whoa, hold on, venue abuse. But these hypocritical frauds, and that's what you're going to have to do if you're in front of that oral argument. Say, hey, judge, you okay with that? You okay with us indicting Barack Obama, who helped put you on the bench down in a small county in Texas? Because you just green-lighted it. You green-light this case. You green-light that case. You ready for that? You've got to put it to them because they're so they're so corrupt in their partisan prejudice that they're so accustomed to abuse of power. They're like the same Supreme Court that arrogantly, condescendingly approved Buck v. Bell forced sterilizations in America. That court is an embarrassment to every Supreme Court ever since. And many of those justices are justices a lot of law professors want to quote and cite. I can't forgive them that case. If you were part of that case, you are one of the most morally horrendous individuals to ever walk the planet Earth, period. And I don't care if you're Brandeis, I don't care who you are. But why did they do that? Because they assumed they would just get cheers from the galleys because they were so accustomed to not being challenged directly, confronted directly with who they don't like it. They might attack you as the lawyer. They might threaten your own licensure as a lawyer, but ignore that. They need to be, a mirror needs to be held up to these people because they have forgot who they are and what they're there for.
So Douglas Mackey, they had their oral arguments. I don't think it sounded like this court was going to overturn the conviction. What do you think is going to happen, and what's the time frame for this?
I think it goes up to the Supreme Court of the United States. I think the Supreme Court takes it because of the dangerous applications of the statute, and it has additional issues of vagueness and voidness, vagueness and venue. Okay. And so you've got three robust constitutional issues, and they need to step in and start. Part of this is the courts themselves, including conservative courts that wanted to ignore law enforcement abuse. Because the same courts that were very concerned if the EPA was exceeding its power turned a blind eye when it was the FBI abusing its power, when it was the Pentagon abusing its power, when it was a U.S. Attorney, the Department of Justice abusing their power. And that was a problem. And now we're reaping the whirlwind for it in such a way that the entire legal system is an embarrassment to anybody with any degree of legal or moral conscience. That's why you see Pete constantly. I mean, my barometer on this is people like Turley and Dershowitz. They come from Democratic circles. They're aligned with the Democratic side. They tend to be Trump skeptical or critics, didn't vote for Trump in either of the last two elections. They have been condemning this over and over again because they believe in the rule of law. They believe in a robust constitutional protection. They believe in the impartiality and independence of our legal system. And they're seeing it completely eviscerated for politicized partisan purposes. And that's why they're calling it out again and again and again. But they're not getting anywhere with the courts. Now, hopefully this culminates in some good Supreme Court rulings this cycle, but it shows where we're at. The fact that that's a good transition into Trump. Everything that's happening to Trump is a reflection of this disease, is a manifestation, is a symptom of this, is a expression of this virus that is of partisan prejudice that has infected our entire legal system.
And we're gonna get to Trump in a second, but one question, Robert: even if this gets to the Supreme Court, it's not going to be this cycle. It'll be in 2025. All right. And then the last question I had was nothing on Douglas Mackey, so we'll see where it goes. My prediction is in, people. But it sounds like
component. Yale Law School now says you have a right to bring a suit for an intentional tort against anyone that interferes with your right to vote. That's interesting. If the court greenlights that because they're so obsessed with whacking the right, some of us are going to be using it to sue people like Mark Ellis and other people like that. If the legal system is now open for everybody to play, well, everybody's going to play. And we'll start suing in small counties in rural middle Tennessee that vote 90-10 Trump. And let's see if they then suddenly discover venue is a concern. They then suddenly discover limitations on the law.
Yeah, but Robert,
if this is the new set of rules, it's time to start suing the other side in our favorable venues. Because to be honest, that's probably the only thing that's going to stop it.
Or they'll just find a way to do the mental gymnastics and say, yeah, but that was good there and it's not good here. Before we head over to...
They don't get to decide that there, right? Yeah, you got to get an elected rural judge in rural Tennessee to rule your way. Good luck with that. So, I mean, if that's what they're going to green light, then we have to reciprocate in kind. That's the only option.
Christina Wong stopped me from voting in 2016. I wanted to, before we head over to Rumble, because we're going to go there now, I just wanted to read the some of the chats that we had there. The Rock is Eoride about money. That's from Freddie. Outdoor Nobles. Keith Olbermann was slamming The Rock, so liberal white women still hold true from piss tears. Oh, that was crazy. Karolevsky, stick with the alligators rather than Twitter. Gators have more scruples. Pete Guyat says, Viva, never underestimate the UK politicians' self-loathing. It's what led to Brexit. As Brit who moved to Canada, I'm glad I no longer live there. Canada is not as bad as the UK. It's been great to me. Grey Mare, is there an alternative to services like Westlaw for case law research without having to pay thousands of dollars for subscriptions? Robert, what is it? What is it?
Like Lexis and the rest, but
LexisNexis.
all those databases cost a lot. Now, these days, AI and other aspects make it easier. There's like Case Text. There's Justitia. There's a bunch of online that you can search that you'll often get about 70 to 75% of the cases you'd find with legal research databases. I don't know how, as this information becomes publicly available, because it's always been interesting, Westlaw and Lexis's source material is not something they have a copyright over. It's the only thing they have is the algorithmic mean. They've taken the time to digitize these records and find ways to search them relatively easily. To the degree that AI and other algorithmic technology can supplant that, I don't know how long there's a business for Westlaw and Lexis.
We already have reasonably good alternatives up in Canada with Candly, but Google's still, or search engines are still pretty good, but not.
Yeah, you
not,
can go.
not
There's
perfect.
places like Justia, Case Text. There's a bunch that are out there that you can actually get a fair amount, and you get a much lower price for their subscription part of their service, and a lot of it's publicly available these days.
Arkansas crime attorney says, what a moron. Who thinks she has two brain cells to rub together? YouTube would not let me send. Game On Podcast, $100 rant. Thank you very much. Remember, it's better to bet with Barnes than against. Great weekend for Sports Picks followers. Made LLP, dear trolls, head over to Locals to buy merch, then troll. Thank you. Chicago Faucet, may God protect you, sir. You are fighting a good fight. The good fight, and you aren't even American. You are doing all the heavy lifting the rest of us either aren't able to do or aren't willing to do. It helps not to have a boss. Does anyone follow Judge Joe in Memphis on Twitter? Viva Fry, he needs to be interviewed. Screen grab. Our court system is getting, I screen grab that, Arkansas crime attorney, I'm going to do it. It's getting to the trash. The Supreme needs to step in, set some rights and the wrongs. King of Biltong. Good afternoon from Anton's Meat and Eat. Free shipping on your order of Biltong with code VIVA, the V-I-V-A, not W-I-V-A, and BiltongUSA.com. Anton USA, it's delicious stuff. I've been eating it daily, actually. Biltong, a perfect pairing of high protein, keto, and carnivore diets. I'm willing to do the same in Arkansas, so Robert just emailed me. I'm willing to help in Tennessee too. Okay, done. What we're going to do now, hold on, there was something I was supposed to do. Get on over to Rumble, people. Let's do this. That's it. I forgot what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. We're going to end this on YouTube. Come on over to Rumble, and thank you for the blessing, sir. I will take it. Ending on YouTube. The entire stream, I'll post it intact tomorrow on YouTube. But for now, YouTube tomorrow is going to get the leftovers. Tonight, the party's at Rumble. Viva.